ever dream of turning a side hustle into a billion-dollar empire?
Well, get ready,
Because today,
because we're about to dive into...
we're diving deep into the story of Andrey Melnichenko.
That's right, a guy who went from a campus currency exchange booth
Yeah, can you imagine?
to a titan of industry.
Talk about a glow-up.
And it's not just the scale, it's the timing.
Yeah, the timing is crazy.
Think about it. Melnichenko's rise happens right when the Soviet Union collapses.
Talk about economic upheaval.
Immense.
Yeah.
Imagine the opportunities, but also the risks.
Oh, absolutely. Navigating that landscape, that takes guts.
No kidding. Okay, so picture this. It's 1990s Russia.
The Wild West of, well, pretty much everything.
The rule book's been tossed out the window.
Right.
And you've got Melnichenko, this physics student at Moscow State,
Yeah, physics.
who decides, you know what? I'm switching lanes. Big time.
He transfers to Plekhanov, right, the Russian University of Economics.
He does.
Smart move.
In hindsight, totally. But remember, this isn't some seasoned investor.
Right, he's just a kid.
A young guy, still at uni, reading the tea leaves, betting on himself.
And this is where it gets juicy. Get this, while he's still a student.
Hold on, let me guess.
This is unbelievable.
He starts some kind of business.
He starts a currency exchange booth on campus.
Classic.
Yeah.
The entrepreneur's origin story we've all heard a million times.
Right? But there's a twist.
But here's the thing. He takes that first win, how much was it, like 50 grand?
50,000 US dollars.
50,000 bucks, and turns it into a freaking banking license. This guy's playing chess while everyone else is stuck on tic-tac-toe.
Okay, I'm getting serious Wolf of Wall Street vibes here, but without the, illegal shenanigans.
Well, we hope.
But seriously, founding MDM Bank at 21, that's not just ambition, that's...
Audacious. And let's not forget,
It's ballsy.
this is the wild, wild west of Russian banking in the 90s.
And then, bam, the 1998 Russian financial crisis hits.
Talk about a trial by fire. Most banks, they were up to their eyeballs in risky assets, those government bonds.
Yeah, those things were like ticking time bombs.
But not Melnichenko. He'd steered MDM Bank on a different course. More conservative.
Stability over quick profits.
Bingo.
Yeah.
And guess what? That's what separates the one-hit wonders from the empires.
Right. You gotta weather the storm to come out on top.
And boy, did MDM thrive. While others were going belly up, they were racking up Bank of the Year awards.
But then, plot twist. Melnichenko, he's not content with just riding the wave.
This guy's always looking for the next big thing.
He jumps into commodities.
Not just any commodities. We're talking coal,
Mm-hmm.
fertilizers.
Not exactly the sexiest investments, right?
Not for most people.
Mm-hmm.
But this is Melnichenko we're talking about. He sees potential where others just see, well, dirt.
And risk. Let's not forget the risk.
Huge risk.
Did-
But he's not afraid of a lot of risk.
Yeah.
He sees those overlooked, undervalued assets.
Why? For disruption.
Exactly. So while everyone else is chasing those privatization schemes,
Yeah, trying to get a piece of the former Soviet pie.
Melnichenko, he goes on a buying spree,
Mm-hmm.
snaps up over 50 distressed industrial assets.
Most of them former Soviet operations on their last legs.
And that's how Eurochem is born, his fertilizer empire.
And SUIC, the coal energy giant.
These weren't impulse buys. This was strategic. Take these neglected giants, pump in some serious cash, modernize, and boom global powerhouses.
Let's unpack Eurochem first. He starts with what? A couple of nitrogen plants, a phosphate mine?
All with outdated equipment.
Right.
Not exactly the picture of global domination.
No, not at all.
No.
So how does he turn it around?
Melnichenko, he gets it. You can't win with yesterday's technology. He pours money into state-of-the-art facilities. And not just in Russia. We're talking globally.
He's building a vertically integrated behemoth, right?
Exactly. Laboratories in Germany. Buys a BASF plant in Antwerp. Secures potash mines in Russia with insane production goals.
This guy's playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers.
And he's not just focused on production, he's building a global distribution network over 100 countries.
And then he moves Eurochem's headquarters to Switzerland. Smart cookie. Access to capital, those international markets, and, let's be honest, a much better view from the office.
Can't argue with that. But here's the interesting part. Melnichenko, he starts thinking about sustainability.
Sustainability in the fertilizer industry.
Well, within the confines of the industry, at least. Take their ammonia plant in Kingisepp.
That's the one in Russia, right?
Yep, $1 billion investment.
$1 billion with a B. That's a lot of potatoes.
They built it with its closed water recycling system to minimize their impact on the Baltic Sea.
Uh-huh.
And they built it on a brownfield site.
So land that was already used for industry.
Exactly. So, yes, a small silver lining, I guess,
Hmm.
but still.
It shows he's at least thinking about the environmental impact a little bit. But let's move on to Iki, his coal energy venture.
Oh, boy, talk about a sleeping giant when he got his hands on it.
Yeah.
We're talking outdated everything, low productivity, minimal exports.
It was a far cry from the global powerhouse it is today.
Understatement.
Holy.
So how does he do it?
How does he turn it around?
Same playbook as Eurochem. Modernization on steroids. He tackles debt, improves working conditions for the miners, and focuses on efficiency like it's an Olympic sport. But then he goes a step further, builds these modern bulk terminals, upgrades the seaports,
Okay, impressive, but...
and constructs a coal mine methane processing station.
Wait, hold up. Isn't methane, like, way worse for the environment than carbon dioxide?
Way worse. But
Yeah.
here's the thing. By capturing it and processing it, he's aligning with the whole Kyoto Protocol thing, reducing those greenhouse gas emissions.
So, a step in the right direction. Sort of. But let's not forget, ACX, a major supplier of high calorific coal.
Which is used in those HELA power plants.
Ones that are supposed to be more efficient.
Supposedly emit less carbon. Still not great, but...
Baby steps, right? Okay, but here's where things get really interesting.
Tell me more.
AC Weave becomes this unlikely pioneer
A pioneer. In what?
in automation and digitalization.
Wait, seriously. Coal mining? That's like the poster child for old school industry.
I know, but we're talking big data analysis, automated mining operations.
Next, they'll be sending robots down into the mine shafts.
They basically are. They piloted Russia's first fully automated longwall mine.
Hold on. A longwall mine.
It's this super efficient way of mining underground where they extract this long wall of coal all at once, like a giant cheese slicer, but for coal.
Okay, that makes sense. But
Yeah.
still, automation in coal mining, Melnichenko's full of surprises.
Right. So you have this guy knee-deep in coal, an industry everyone thinks is stuck in the Stone Age.
Okay, maybe not the Stone Age.
But he's embracing cutting-edge tech like it's going out of style.
It's kind of his thing, isn't it? Operating in these contradictions,
Mm.
traditional industries, but with this relentless drive for the new and, well, disruptive.
It's like he can see the future, or at least his version of it.
Or maybe he's just really good at connecting the dots, seeing the bigger picture that others miss.
Either way, it makes you wonder, what's the end game? Is it all about the bottom line, or is there something more driving him?
It's a question worth pondering. But before we go down that rabbit hole, let's switch gears for a second.
Okay, what else is there?
Let's talk about the man behind the billion-dollar deals, Andrey Melnichenko, the person.
So we've talked about Melnichenko's business smarts, his knack for finding those diamond-in-the-rough opportunities.
But what about the man himself?
Right, like who is this guy?
Well, he's not all work and no play, you know?
I mean, he did build his first fortune when most of us were still figuring out what to wear in the morning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of personal style,
Well, this is where it gets good.
in 2005, Melnichenko marries Alexandra Nikolic,
A Serbian pop star and model, no less.
and their wedding, let's just say it wasn't exactly a small family gathering.
I bet it made the Met Gala look like a potluck,
It was a lavish, no-holds-barred extravaganza in the south of France.
as one would expect.
But what really got people talking, the couple's taste for the finer things in life, specifically their yachts.
Okay, spill the tea. We need to hear about these floating palaces.
Picture this. A and Motor Yacht A,
Catchy names.
both designed by Philippe Starck,
Hold on, the Philippe Starck, the design legend.
the one and only, known for his avant-garde style.
Okay, so we're talking sleek lines, futuristic vibes, probably more luxury than we could even imagine.
Oh, you could say that again. We're talking cutting-edge tech, interiors straight out of a dream, every amenity you could possibly want.
Don't forget those masts on Sailing Yacht A.
Oh yeah, taller than Big Ben.
Mm-hmm.
And the price tag for these nautical masterpieces, well over $1 billion.
$1 billion with a B. I guess when you're running a global empire, the ocean's the limit, right?
Something like that. But hold on to your hats, because in 2022, things take a turn.
Yeah, 2022 was a wild ride for everyone.
Especially for folks like Melnichenko. Geopolitics threw a wrench in the works.
Ah, right, the sanctions.
Exactly. March 2022, the EU hits Melnichenko with sanctions, saying he's got ties to the Russian government and all that.
So was he chummy with Putin?
He's always denied having close ties to the government.
But he was operating in Russia, so...
It's a bit of a gray area, right? Successful in the system, but was he part of the system?
It's the billion-dollar question. But
Yeah.
either way, those sanctions were a big deal.
Oh, yeah. He steps down from Eurochem and Zoic, says he's not a beneficiary anymore.
Trying to distance himself, I guess.
And he even does this interview where he's warning about a global food crisis because of fertilizer prices.
Because of the sanctions, he's saying.
Right, like look what happens when you disrupt the fertilizer trade.
A clever move. But there's more, right? That whole Sibeko thing.
Yes, Sibeko. 2023 rolls around, and Russia's prosecutor general decides to sue Melnichenko.
To sue him? For what?
To take back Sibeko. Nationalize it. It's a company he used to own.
What does Sibeko even do?
They've got a bunch of thermal power plants. So, yeah, kind of a big deal for the Russian government to just come knocking.
Especially since he didn't even earn it anymore. What happened? They'd just, show up with moving trucks?
This is Russia. It's never that simple.
Okay, so then what?
Lots of legal back and forth, negotiations, all very hush-hush.
Sounds juicy. In the end, what happened? Did they take the power plants?
They reached a settlement October 2023.
Really? What were the terms?
The details are a little murky, but basically, Kuzbasenergo, they own Sibeko now, they agreed to give a bunch of money to a children's charity.
Hold on, they paid a settlement to a charity.
Yep. Not your typical legal outcome, that's for sure.
No kidding. So what was the deal? Was this Melnichenko trying to make himself look better? Or was it the Russian government calling the shots? Or maybe just a weird Tuesday in the world of billionaires and lawsuits?
Your guess is as good as mine.
This is better than any courtroom drama I've ever seen. But you know what else got caught in the crossfire?
Don't tell me. Not the yachts.
The yachts. Melnichenko's, people say he hasn't touched them since the sanctions hit, but who knows, right?
And wouldn't you know it, Sailing Yacht A gets seized in Italy.
Ouch. That's gotta hurt, even for a billionaire.
A very public, very expensive reminder that nobody's above the law. Or at least international maritime law.
It's kind of tragic, actually. This self-made man builds an empire, and then it all gets tangled up in geopolitics and sanctions.
It's a reminder that success, especially on a global scale, it's messy.
Yeah, there are always strings attached. So where does that leave Melnichenko? Is he a mastermind playing the game, or just a guy who got caught in the currents?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? He's got this incredible talent for spotting opportunities, for shaking things up.
But he's also operating in this really complicated world where the rules are always changing.
It's almost Shakespearean, wouldn't you say? The rise, the challenges, the moral gray areas.
Except we don't know the ending yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Melnichenko, he's still a young guy. So who knows what the next chapter holds?
Speaking of next chapters, remember how we were talking about Melnichenko's almost supernatural ability to see around corners?
Yeah, always one step ahead of the game.
Well, that leads us to a really interesting question. So, given everything that's happening in the world, the energy crisis, climate change, where does someone like Melnichenko fit in?
That's the million-dollar question, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Will people look back and say he was stuck in the past? Or will he be the guy who saw the future and actually did something about it?
It's a tough one. Because on one hand, we need to move away from fossil fuels, that's clear.
Absolutely.
But then you've got things like fertilizer, which we need to, feed everyone.
And don't forget, fertilizer production. It's hugely energy intensive.
It's all connected.
Exactly. It's not about good guys and bad guys. It's about finding a way through this transition, balancing the economy and the environment.
And that's what makes Melnichenko so fascinating.
Right, because this is a guy who made his fortune by taking risks, by thinking big and long term.
And he's not afraid to shake things up. Look at what he did with automation at Ewick.
Totally. So the question is, can he do it again? Can he bring that same energy to sustainability?
So are we going to see Eurochem going green? Finding ways to make fertilizer with a smaller environmental footprint?
Or maybe he ditches coal entirely and jumps into renewables?
Wouldn't that be something? Imagine him pulling off another one of his moves, completely reinventing himself in those industries.
It's what makes these deep dives so interesting. We've gone from his early days to, well, now. From currency booths to yachts to this whole geopolitical drama.
It's been a wild ride.
And hopefully we've given our listeners a lot to think about.
Because at the end of the day, the most important thing is to keep asking questions.
Exactly. The world needs more curious minds.
Couldn't agree more. So, until next time, keep those brains buzzing.